If you believe that Raider Nation deserves better, a better effort from not only your coaching staff, not only from your owner, not only from your players, I want you to hit that subscribe button because coming up here on today's show, I'm going to be breaking down a lot of analysis from the Raiders' 0-3 start, and we're going to be pointing some fingers, but it's not going to be the right ones. Raider Nation, what's going on? You're watching the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by our awesome sponsor, True Classic Tees. You guys can get 25% off your order by going to the link that you see below, and for whatever reason, if you can't remember that link down there, trueclassictees.com/chat, I was nice enough to put it in the description and in the comments section. So coming up here on today's show is going to be an Overreaction Monday, and obviously I'm mad. Obviously everyone out there didn't expect this Raiders team to be 0-3. But I went to bed last night, I took a deep breath, and I'm going to try to be a little bit less overreaction crazy guy and just sit here and tell you some of the things that I believe need to change going forward. The biggest overreaction, the biggest story going on right now around the silver and black is around Josh McDaniels. And will the Raiders fire Josh McDaniels this week? I saw it on social media. Heck, I was one of the guys out there like, I'm done with McDaniels. I can't take it anymore. I didn't want him here in the first place, and he's here. Will the Raiders fire Josh McDaniels this week? It is a blatant overreaction on my part and on a lot of people's parts out there, which sometimes you have to understand. And I absolutely get now when my girlfriend and I get into a fight and she walks away to relax. That way you don't say things that maybe shouldn't be said. This is kind of one of those situations here. So the Raiders, no, they're not going to fire McDaniels this week. I get it. They are the only 0-3 team in the NFL. That hurts to say it. It hurts to read it. It hurts to think about it. Since 1990, teams who start 0-3 have a about 2% chance to make the playoffs. McDaniels is now 11-20 all-time as a head coach, and if you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I put out there in his last 11 games, McDaniels is 1-10 as a head coach. So with all those numbers there, what do you guys think? Should the Raiders fire Josh McDaniels? Type F for fire, or I want you to type K for keep. Let me know what you guys are thinking. I want every single person that comes across this video to answer this question because it matters. My answer is, do I think he deserves to be fired? Yes, I do. Like I said, did not want McDaniels here. I don't think he's a good leader of men. I don't think he's a good head coach, and he's never been a good head coach, and he's never really won without Tom Brady. Here's the thing, though. The Raiders are going to keep him all season. It would literally have to be like 0-16 bad for the Raiders to fire McDaniels before the season ended. I understand that there's frustrations out there, but you're not going to move on from McDaniels. Let me say this, though, very clearly. If they don't make the playoffs and, they got like 8 or 9 wins, maybe you decide to keep McDaniels. But if the season keeps trending in the way that it's going, and if you're 0-5 by the bye and you finish with like only 4 or 5 wins and this season is an absolute disaster, then yeah, you're damn right I'm going to start talking about legitimate Josh McDaniel replacements. Let me say this again. None of these coaches are going to replace McDaniels this season. This is more of a after the season type of thought. The first name coming up here is this. It's Sean Payton. Sean Payton is going to be the #1 head coaching replacement candidate out there for every single NFL team that fires their head coach this offseason. I'm not sure if Payton would want to come to Las Vegas. Personally, I've always believed that Payton would end up in Dallas. But you know what? He's got to be on this list. The next name, Papa Bisaccia. Papa Bisaccia right now is special teams coach in Green Bay. And he might not have all the credentials that some of these other coaching candidates have in terms of wins and all that. But you know what? They called him Papa Bisaccia last year for a reason. He was a father figure. And as far as I'm concerned, the Raiders need a father figure right now in that locker room. He led an amazing team, which realistically from a talent standpoint didn't have a lot of talent compared to a lot of other playoff teams, but they bonded as a family. Rich Bisaccia deserves a shot in the NFL as far as I'm concerned. The next name coming up here is actually a name that I like quite a bit. It's Brian Flores. And on top of that, if you want to have a scenario where you can move on from Josh McDaniels, but you want to keep a head coach who actually has worked with Dave Ziegler in the past, because I like Dave Ziegler. I think he's a really smart football mind. This could be a very interesting hire to have somebody in who also has worked with Dave Ziegler in the past. The final name here is a name that I've thrown out before. It's Kellen Moore. I've just always liked the way Kellen Moore ran his offense. I think it's intriguing. He's a coordinator. He does a lot of good, fun, and entertaining things. What I've seen from Greg Olson, John Gruden, Josh McDaniels is some of the most uncreative football offensive minds that I have ever seen. And the fact that these guys are taking jobs up, absolutely mind-blowing. So again, this list, not for now. It is just in case the Raiders decide to move on from Josh McDaniels in the offseason. Now, you know that saying, look good, feel good? Well, I'll tell you what, I do feel a little bit better today, even though the Raiders are 0-3, but it's because of our awesome sponsor, True Classic. And if you guys want to go get started here, we have an Essential 9-pack, which you can get for basically $13.88 per t-shirt. As you can see, these t-shirts, they fit well. A lot of the models that you'll see on television or in magazines or even Instagram anymore, those dudes are rocking 6-packs. Y'all see how much I drink on the show. I got a bit of a dad bod, and all I got is a dog. These shirts are made for men like you and me. Now, don't get me wrong. If you got a 6-pack, show it off. If you got an awesome body, these shirts are going to hug you really, really nicely. But if you're looking like an average Joe, like me, an average Mitch, a basic Mitch, then go to trueclassictees.com/chat. Get yourself outfitted. I promise you're going to love it because you're going to get free shipping included on purchases over $100. I have a bunch of these t-shirts, and I know Raider Nation is really, really going to like them. All right, let's go to now this take. Is Josh McDaniels on the hot seat? I talked about it last week. I got some flack for saying it. Just because I'm saying McDaniels is on the hot seat doesn't mean that the Raiders are going to fire him. But you know what? If this doesn't raise some alarms that after that 24-22 loss to the Tennessee Titans, McDaniels had a private meeting with Mark Davis before his press conference. If I'm Mark Davis, I'm going to sit there and say, hey, I see the stories, I see the rumors, I see this Mitchell Renz guy asking for retweets to get you fired. I see it. You're not going to get fired. Your job's going to be here, but you do need to turn things around very, very quickly. So since I'm saying that, okay, that he deserves to be fired, but it's not going to happen. So now Josh McDaniels is going to be your head coach for the entire season. What happens now? What's the next move for the Raiders? Because the guy calling the plays is McDaniels. So McDaniels shouldn't call the offensive plays anymore. This one's for just win, babies. Believe it, baby. I'm not sure if McDaniels is a man enough to just give up the play calling duties because he realizes he's not good at it. I'm not sure if Mark Davis makes something happen. But here's the thing. It is time for McDaniels to take those dangly offensive play keys and hand them to Mick Lombardi. I'm not sure if Mick Lombardi's ready for the job, if I'm being point blank honest with you. But I've seen McDaniels now try to execute an offense back when the days were in Denver without Brady. I have seen him try to execute this offense right now, and it's just not there. He looks overwhelmed, and his team looks unprepared. His offense, I'm going to say it right now, his offense is more unimaginable and more uncreative than Greg Olson's and John Gruden's. If that doesn't sting here and that, then I'm not sure what else I need to tell you. When you look at the Raiders' offense this season, total yards per game, ranked 17th in the NFL right now. Passing yards per game, number 7. Rush yards per game, 28. You know what's really frustrating? Think about what's been better, the running game or the passing game. I think we would all agree that the running game has actually looked a lot better, yet they're not running the football. Points per game, 21.3. It's pretty low. It is 11th best. Red zone percentage, you are 26th in the NFL. I thought this McDaniels guy was supposed to solve a lot of these red zone issues that the Raiders have had. The Raiders' offense right now is playing without discipline. I was alive a few months ago, and I know all y'all were too, when we heard, this Raiders team in the preseason, this team in the practice, more discipline, players running laps for not making things happen. When you think about the amount of boneheaded mistakes, whether it's penalties, the amount of delay of games and 4th and 10s that turn it into 4th and 15, 3rd and 1s turning into 3 and 6s, the reason why the Raiders were 1 and 12 on 3rd down yesterday is because they weren't prepared. And it was almost like, oh shit, it is 3rd down. Like, what happened here? I don't even remember the first 2 downs. And then they were hurrying. A lot of things were rushing. The 2-point conversion, again, no discipline. It just looked like they had no idea that they actually had to go for 2 points. It was an absolute joke. So then, one of the other reasons why it's so frustrating is because money talks, right? When you think about all the new contracts that this Raiders team did, on the offensive side of the football alone, you gave Derek Carr on his new deal $121.5 million. Davnate Adams, $140 million. Darren Waller, $51 million. Renfro, $32 million. You are an 0-3 football team, and those 4 players are a total of $344.5 million in total money spent. And personally, if Mark Davis cares about money at all, which, let's face it, everyone cares about money. I mean, we know that he cares about money. It's why he went to Las Vegas. Then if he cares about money, then you would let Lombardi call the plays and let McDaniels focus on head coaching. I don't even know if McDaniels can be a head coach. So why are we trying to make him be a head coach and offensive coordinator? Let's let him learn how to be a head coach first, and then if he wants to call the plays again, go for it. Because I'm sorry, he looks overwhelmed. His team is unprepared. I just can't even wrap my mind around how disappointing that Raiders offense has been so far this season. So what do y'all think? Do you want Josh McDaniels calling the plays? Give me that Y for yes or N for no. Y'all know where I stand. I'm done watching McDaniels trying to call plays. I'm done him trying to create these trickery plays. You're running the football with Josh Jacobs effectively, and then all of a sudden you try to do all these stupid trick plays that look like that they're designed by kids on a playground in 6th and 7th grade. Give me a break. Type your N for no. Let's go to the next overreaction here on the Raiders Report presented by True Classic Tees. Luckily, I am getting a little heated, but you know what? You guys can't tell because of these awesome shirts here. The Raiders season, it's over. It's over. The Raiders season is over. This is an overreaction. And yes, it is coming from me, somebody who has had full-on meltdown modes over the past 2 weeks. But you just got to believe, baby. And I know I've been saying it after week 1. I said it after week 2. I said it after week 3. But you know what? The Chiefs lost. The Broncos, I know that they're 2-1. They don't look all that great. The Chargers lost to the Jags, and they just lost their left tackle, Rashawn Slater, for the season. So I'm telling you right now, if the Raiders go in the next 2 weeks, it's an uphill battle, but it is possible. Nobody thought that Kansas City was going to lose to Indy. And if you can go 2-3 by your bye week and take care of business against the Broncos, take care of business against the Chiefs, you're still right in the neck of things here. So let's go back in time. 6 teams since 1979 have made the playoffs after an 0-3 start. The 2018 Texans are the last team that did it. Let me just say this, right? Because you look at a lot of these percentages, which it's right. You do look at a lot of percentages. But with that extra game, plus an extra playoff spot, it actually technically makes it easier for the Raiders to still make the playoffs. So you still got to believe. So here's my next part. You're not going to fire Josh McDaniels. You need to give Mick Lombardi the keys to call the offensive plays. And I'm sitting here saying, all right, if the season's not over, what needs to change? First thing that needs to change and what the Raiders need to do, you need to have better execution and clutch moments. I can think of the Cardinals game multiple times in that game where you didn't pick up a key first down or you couldn't score, especially in that second half. The Raiders-Chargers game, think about how many defensive stops your team got there in that second half. You couldn't execute or you threw bad interceptions by Carr. This past week, Darren Waller drops a touchdown on that very, very first drive. Waller should have dove on that one deep ball. Yeah, it wasn't a great ball by Derek Carr, but if you're going to give somebody $51 million, you're going to make them the highest paid tight end in the league. At least dive for it, try to catch it. And then Waller again, near the end of that game, ball right here in his hands. Again, did he get popped? Yes, he did. But you are being paid as the highest tight end in the NFL. That ball needs to be secured. Essentially, Darren Waller gave up 17 points yesterday. On top of that, you're in the red zone, 2 of 6, 1 for 12 on third downs. You need to be better in clutch moments. You need to be better in the red zone. What about this next one? Make better in-game adjustments. The second half of the Cardinals game, that alone, I'm not going to get into that one. The Raiders' first 3 drives on defense by Tennessee, 75, 75, 79 yards, whatever the hell it was. Right down the field, scored touchdowns. You put your team against the Tennessee Titans in a hole 21-10, that's not an easy hole to get out of. Make better adjustments, Patrick Graham. Make better adjustments, Josh McDaniels. We need to see some adjustments in the game. Next thing, your stars need to step up. It's point blank and simple. Now, all the players that you're about to see here on screen aren't guys that have played bad the entire season, but when you're making the type of money that you're making, when you're playing the certain positions that you're playing, I'm sorry, I'm going to call you out. It's time to step up. Derek, you had a really bad week 1 game. Don't think you played bad against Arizona, and honestly, I didn't think that you played bad whatsoever against the Titans. You should have came away with a win if your stars can make plays. But you know what? You're the face of the franchise. The team is 0-3. You got to elevate your play to that upper echelon, something that we haven't quite seen in a long time. Darren Waller, if you're going to be the highest paid tight end in the league, That was the worst game of your entire NFL career that I saw in Week 3 against Tennessee. Chandler Jones. Has anybody seen Chandler Jones? I'm actually worried about him. I haven't seen Chandler in a single Raiders game, I'm convinced, yet, because realistically, he's making all this money. He's not making a real impact. I tweeted it out. I hope Chandler Jones, and I've been actually thinking about changing his profile picture to Where's Waldo, because that's how difficult it is to find Jones out there on the field. Jermaine Illuminor, his ass should have been benched. He should have been benched this past week. And then Jonathan Abram, who has played well in weeks 1 and 2, was absolutely exposed this past week, and with injuries to Trevon Merrick, Nate Hobbs, Rocky Sim, these extra players on the defense, teams are going to start picking on Abram like you saw this past week. All 5 of these guys need to step it the hell up. Now remember, y'all, you can always interact with me on social media, Twitter, IG. You guys know where to find me. Major shout out to our 50-50 raffle winner yesterday. I believe we gave you, like $75. Remember, we're going to be doing all stuff like that the entire year. Interact with me. Add me as a friend on Venmo. Y'all know where to get me. Mitchell Renz 365. Let's go to the next thing the Raiders need to do. You got to get healthy. I know it's not an easy thing to ask for, but when you think about the amount of injuries that this team already has, it's kind of crazy. You're without 7 starters right now. Hunter Renfro's battling a concussion. Denzel Perriman battling an ankle injury. Renfro missed week 3. Perriman has missed weeks 2 and 3. Merrick with that hip missed weeks 2 and 3. Andre James, he missed week 3 and week 2. Anthony Averett, he's on IR. Nate Hobbs, Rocky Sin, they left the games early. I personally don't think Hobbs is going to play because he has a concussion. Rocky Sin's dealing with a knee injury. I don't know if he's going to play. So here's the thing. You got to figure out a way to get a little bit healthier going forward. And then the final thing is this. Play like a family. Play like you care. Play like you got that players standing next to you on the right and left side of you, that you got their back. Because I'm not seeing it this season. I'm not seeing any of the family stuff that I saw last season with that incredible run when the Raiders were 6-7 and they made that playoff push. I get it. Last year sucked, and those guys went through a lot, and it bonded them together. But with the amount of time that y'all are around each other, you got to play like a family. And I'm also looking at you, Raider Nation. Being 0-3, right now is not the time to go at other Raider fans on Twitter. Now's the time that we need to unite. We need to come together and really rally behind our team. And we need to rally together as a fan base. So let me know, y'all. What do the Raiders need to do to get back on track? I'm legitimately asking this question, and I can't wait to see some of the answers because I know I'm going to get a lot of mixed bag. If any other news or injury reports happen, big-time Raiders stories, y'all know what to do. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. I'll keep you updated. But seriously, let me know, what do the Raiders need to do to get back on track?